So for this eye look, I have already prepped my eyelid with the MAC Soft Ochre paint pot, and then I set that down with this shade right here, which is called Melanie. Then I took a Sigma E40 brush and went into this shade right here, which is called Sarah. And then I just buffed that into the transition area and brought it up towards the eyebrow. Then I took the bronze blending brush from Furless Cosmetics and dipped into this dark teal shade over here, which is called Carolyn. After tapping off the excess, I then patted it all over the lid and also blended it into the crease. I wasn't super precise about this. To really blow the edges out, I just used small circular motions, just so that there were no real harsh lines with the shadow. I also winged the shape up a little bit towards the outside here. To help with the blending, I went back with that E40 brush. I didn't pick up any additional product, but I just blended where the two shadows meet. Then I took a flat shader brush from Lottie London and picked up this duochrome shade right here in the middle called Kelly. I used some Fix Plus on it and just dampened it on the brush. And then just patted it all over the lid. Then to kick it up even more, I just used my finger, went back into Kelly, and then just patted it on the center of the lid as well. The reason I put that teal shade down first was just to change the shift that the shade Kelly has. When you put it over top of that deeper base, it has more of a green-blue shift to it, and that was the color that I wanted from it. Then I just went back in with that blending brush and just blended the crease area out, again so that there's just no harsh lines. To help add just a little bit of extra dimension, I used the E36 brush from Sigma and went back into that Carolyn shade right here and just applied it to the very outer corner of my eyelid. And then blended it very lightly into the crease as well. And then just in all of that blending, I felt like I had lost a little bit of that initial shade, so I just went back in with that E40, picked up a little bit more of Sarah, and added it up here again. Alright, so I'm just going to apply my face makeup off camera, and then I'll come back in to finish off the eyes. I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I now have all of my face products on, minus the lips. I used the Born This Way foundation and the Born This Way concealer. And for face powders, I used the Cali Contour Kit from Smashbox and the Diamond and Blush Kit from Natasha Denona. I am crushing hardcore on both of these kits at the moment. This eye is finished, so I'm going to show you on this one what I did over here. For starters, I went back with that E36, the little precise blending brush, and went back into that shade Carolyn over here, the deep teal. Picked some of that up, really tapped off the excess, and then ran it under my lower lash line. Then just to soften that line up a little bit, I used a clean E25 brush from Sigma and just buffed out the edge. For my inner corner highlight, I used Flexitarian from ColourPop. It's one of their Super Shock Cheek highlighters, And just use my eye crease brush from e.l.f. and dab that in. And also brought it down onto that lower lash line, just the very inner portion of it. I also just used a small amount of that and ran it over the brow bone as well. For my eyebrows, I used the tinted brow gel from Arbonne, and this is in the shade Medium Dark. For eyeliner, I used the Pretty Easy Liner from Clinique. It's just a felt tip liquid eyeliner and just ran it over the lash line. To line my waterline, I used an Endless Silky Eye Pen from Pixie, and this is in the shade True Teal. And then finally for mascara, I used the Kush Mascara from Milk Makeup because I love it. To finish everything off, I'm just going to use Glossy Fawn, which is one of the Color Riche Shine lipsticks from L'Oreal. It's just a very nude color. And there is the final look. So just 3 eyeshadows. It is actually very easy to do. It's just a matter of playing around and blending everything out, but actually a very simple look to achieve. And now on to look number 2. Alright, this is going to be the second look using this palette, and like always to begin, I am just priming my eyes with the Soft Ochre Paint Pot from MAC. To set that into place, I'm going to use the shade Melanie right here. As a transition shade, I'm going to use Nancy, and this is the Deluxe Crease Brush from Real Techniques. Next, I'm going to take the Defining Crease Brush from Real Techniques and use the shade Lala over here. It's a nice matte olive green shade. I'm going to put that into the crease all the way across and then onto the lid, and on the lid I'm going to keep the center part fairly well blank, but I'll deal with that in a minute. I'm just going to pick up the Deluxe Crease Brush again, no additional product, and just blend where the 2 shadows meet. So my intention for this look is not necessarily that it's a halo cut crease, but I am going to add just a little bit more of the paint pot to the center just so that the next shadow does appear more vibrant than it would if I didn't. And just to clear up some of that olive that has kind of gone where it wasn't supposed to go. So I'm just, this is really Real Techniques heavy today. This is the detailer brush. And I'm just going to pat that just into the center. Again, I'm not being super precise with this. Frankly, I'm getting ready for work, and there is no need for a cut crease at the office. I'm just going to take my finger and pat out the edges. We're going to go ahead and ignore the state of my nails. I only have time in the day to do so many things, and the nails are typically the last priority. I do have another Real Techniques brush set out, but lest anyone think this is sponsored, which clearly not, I'm going to use one from Suba Beauty instead. This is the 350. And I'm going to pick up the shade Egypt right here, which is this beautiful metallic gold shade. And I'll just pat it where the paint pot is. I'm going to go back in with the brush that I used for the olive green and just drag a little bit more of that olive over top of the gold, just on the edge there, just so that it's a little bit less harsh of a transition between the two. Using the same brush, I'm going to pick up Lala again, the olive green, and just run it underneath my lower lash line. For me, this palette is missing an inner corner highlight. There is a white color here, but I like a little bit more shine for my inner corners, so I'm just going to use a highlighter. And first one that I reach for is the ColourPop Flexitarian. I think I used this in the last look too. If I'm repeating, well, I apologize, but it's a good shade. So just picking it up on the e.l.f. crease brush and popping it in there in the inner corner. And then up under the brow bone as well. So again, I'm just going to apply my liner and my mascara off camera, and then I will come back and show you the final look, including lips. BRB. And there is the final look. For liner, I used the Stila Stay All Day with the micro tip. For mascara, I used the Lights Camera Lashes from Tarte. And then for lipstick, I have Foolish from ColourPop. It's like a burnt terracotta kind of shade. I really just lightly patted it on. I didn't want really full impact. And then on top, I've just patted a little bit of a lip oil from Clarins. This is the Instant Light Lip Comfort Oil in some shade that I cannot read, Honey Glam. And it's just this really pretty lip oil, but it's got little specks of gold glitter in it as well. Alright, so I plan on doing one more look with this palette. I'm going to try to be a little bit more creative in terms of the colors and all that, and really kind of put this palette to the test. So, look number 3. Let's do it. Okay. Third look. Yes, I've already got it on. I had to practice. I had to work out the kinks because cut crease. Not as difficult as it looks though. I promise. If I can do it, you can do it. I promise. I'm going to show you how I did it. So I've already done obviously my face makeup. These powders do not provide a lot of kick up at all, which is delightful. Even the metallic shades, sometimes those can be a little bit crumbly in different palettes, but in this one, not so much. I really enjoy that aspect. So I took Shape Tape. That was the concealer that I used today. Put it all up over my lid as well, and then set it with translucent powder. So we're skipping the MAC paint pot for once. So let us begin. I have a BH Cosmetics a V15 brush. I don't know, little tiny, little creasy, blendy, brushy thing like that. Getting super specific. You can tell it's late at night because super specific. Okay, and then I dipped into the shade Chad. Ooh, let's get it into frame. I used the shade Chad here. So here's the thing with this shade. It's beautiful in the pan. Like vibrant cobalt blue. Even on the brush it looks the same. However, that's not cobalt blue. That's not cobalt blue. It just does not translate as well. Now I do have a little bit of this dark teal in as well, which you will see. But let's just go ahead and start the application because this does not apply the color that you would think it would. And that just a little bit pisses me off. Anyways, here we go. So, picked it up, tapped off the excess. I'm going to go in, so I can see, at least on my eyes, I can see where the crease naturally is, that little fold, the crease. I mean, it's appropriately named. And I'm just going to apply this sort of above that little line there. This does not need to be super precise to begin with, so I'm just going to lay the shadow down and blend it around, and also start carving out the shape just up a little bit. It's not that exciting. It's not that difficult. Don't be intimidated. And we'll go from there. But you can see it's blue, but it's not as rich as I would have expected it to be. The next step I did was took a tapered blending brush, this is from the brand Ruby, and went into this deep teal shade here, which is Carolyn. And then I just kind of ran that along the edge of where the shade Chad is. I had kind of hoped that it would translate a little bit lighter than Chad, and yet it seems to be slightly deeper, but I'm committed now, so here we go. To help diffuse the edge of that shadow, I used the 202 brush from e.l.f. and picked up some of this light colored shade here, which is Melanie. I have the damnedest time figuring out what these shade names are. And just buff that onto the very edge of that darker teal shade. Now it's time to cut the crease. We're going to get through this, I promise. Alright, so I'm going to start off just that there's not a lot of excess on the brush, just putting it all over the lid. And then, again, and then there's a little trick. So I'm just going to look up. Let my eyes fall naturally. You can see where it's already transferred up. So because I have rather hooded eyes, it's like 6.5 miles up. If you don't have hooded eyes, it's probably going to be a lot lower, but this helps because if I was to just do it based on where the crease line actually is, you can see that that would be right about here. You see how high up it goes. So when my eye is open, you wouldn't be able to see that. So I just use that as my guide and just sort of drag it around down to the outer corner. And I'm just starting right from the very inner part of that where the tear duct is, and just connecting it with the existing line. I'm going to take the wipe and try to remove as carefully as possible the eyeshadow. Now, because I don't want that paint pot to transfer around, I'm going to set it. So I'm just using a flat shader brush. This shade, Melanie, the shade Melanie is a little bit too pinky creamy light for my skin, whereas this shade Sylvia here is a little bit too strongly yellow. So when I mix the two of them together, it does a pretty good job of matching my skin tone. So I just swipe once down on each color, tap off the excess, and then just pat that into place there so that that paint pot is locked in and is not going to smear around or rub off anywhere. Now, because some of that shadow has been wiped away and accidentally cleaned away, I'm going to go in with a very precise pencil brush. This is the pencil brush from Makeup Geek. And I'm going to pick more of that shade. Oh God, why can't I pick these up? I'm going to dip back into Chad here and then just very sort of carefully and precisely build back up where that cut is. And then I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit more with that original brush that I used. And then just very carefully above where I just placed it, just blend again. There we go. The hard part's over. Alright, I went in with like a sort of stumpy, fat little flattish brush. This is one of the ABH brushes that comes in the palettes that she sells. And I grabbed the shade Leofar. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Blended it under the lower lash line. Did not extend it out, just kept it right along the lower lash line. It's really not that specific. And then just for some very light blending of that green, I used the Makeup Geek Defined Crease Brush. And again, picked up the shade over here, Melanie. And so what I used instead was the Anastasia Beverly Hills Aurora palette and used the greenish tinged one, Helia, and picked it up with like a really soft pencil brush. This is the 212 from Makeup Forever. And just pop that into the inner corner. I was quite generous with it. What was left on the brush, I ran it up on the brow bone. And that's the eyeshadow done. For the black liner on my upper lash line, I used the Easy Liner from Clinique. And for mascara, I used the Tarteist Lash Paint from Tarte. And for my lower waterline, I used one of the Endless Silky Eye Pens from Pixie, and this is in Emerald Gold. So I'm going to do that and probably pop on some lashes as well. This look kind of cries out for it. And do some lips and come back to show you the final look. I will be right back momentarily. So there's the final look with lashes on. I wish I could tell you what kind of lashes these are. Revlon something, I'm not quite sure. I didn't keep the outer packaging and they don't have the name of them on them, so I'm sorry. And there is the final look all together. For lips, I use two different lip pencils. So I have Trophy Wife from Huda Beauty and the number 44 from Bite. I sort of contoured my lips with this, so I used the dark one from Bite all around the outside, did lines in the middle and sort of drew in a little bit on the outside, and then filled in the rest with the Huda Beauty one, and then applied Nude from Melt Cosmetics on top. I find I have to use lip pencils underneath this because it is so nude that it just sort of, it looks like concealer lips on me, like it just kind of washes me out. I do like this lipstick, but I have to work with it. I have to wear it. I can't let it wear me. All right, so concludes 3 looks with the 10th anniversary palette from Kat Von D. All right, that is going to wrap it up, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.